Hi Arjun, thank you for joining me for this video, and how are you doing there?
Thank you so much for having me. I'm excited to have this conversation.
Awesome. So I was really intrigued by what Dr. Vaidya has done and what the products that you've built. So I really want to connect with you and do this podcast. I'm curious to know what was the earlier day look like? Like how did you get started? What was the idea that you got to start Dr. Vaidya?
The story goes way back, actually. The story goes way back into my family legacy. Vaidya, my last name means Ayurvedic doctor. I come from a legacy of 150 years of Ayurveda in my family. So my grandfather, great-grandfather. The legacy of our business wasn't a business, actually. It was an Ayurvedic clinic. So my great-grandfather set up an Ayurvedic clinic in Bombay. My grandfather, as was customary at the time, took on his father's legacy and built a very strong Ayurvedic practice. It was 300 to 350 patients a day coming to his clinic. 5,000 patients on a monthly basis writing to him via post. So, large Ayurvedic practice inside one clinic. I grew up actually with juvenile bronchitis. I grew up with asthma. And I'm a huge cricket fan.
Right.
I couldn't play cricket growing up because there was too much dust on the cricket field. Right? And so my grandfather moved me off the cricket field and I was playing golf and squash as a kid growing up. So for me, it actually felt like asthma had prevented me from having a normal childhood, right? Because while all my friends were playing cricket and football, I was the only one playing golf and squash. And so I started thinking to myself, this is not fair, right? And my grandfather put me on Ayurvedic treatment. About 13 and a half years later, I was cured of asthma. And I started playing cricket again and I became captain of my school cricket team. What happened then was that while Ayurveda is my family legacy, it had given me something more. Right? It had given me the ability to do something I always wanted to do. And so it started meaning more to me than that. And I promised my grandfather, I'll do something with his legacy. And then, yeah, that's the reason, that's the sort of core reason why I started. I then went to the US, did my undergrad there. I saw yoga being repackaged, right? Yoga mats, yoga gyms, yoga apparel, Lululemon, multi-billion-dollar industry in the US. And as a patriotic Indian, you can see I wear this band with the Indian flag on my hand every day. I've been wearing it for 13 years.
Right.
I started thinking to myself, why are Indians not taking yoga to the world? Why is it that they took what we had and repackaged and sold back to us? So I told my grandfather we can't let the same happen with Ayurveda. And then quit my job after my dada passed to take on the legacy. That was the reason behind actually starting.
How did you acquire the first set of users when you were just getting started? You built Dr. Vaidya into an online FMCG brand. So how was that transition like?
Yeah, so I think the acquiring first set of users is actually interesting because our acquisition strategy for the first set of users failed miserably, right? Why did it fail? Because it was October 2016 when we launched the brand. E-commerce, D2C, online-only brands was all new or inexistent, right? At that time, I went offline, like most other brands did at the time, right? I signed up 6 distributors. I put 10 lakhs worth of stock in the market. And I started thinking, okay, this is a good business now, right? What I didn't realize is distributors have to sell to retailers. Retailers have to sell to you. Only once you buy do I get paid. And because I was a new brand and I had no right to win, nobody paid. And so I got 90% of this product back and our offline strategy failed miserably. That failure is actually the reason we went online because I was like, okay, I'm 25 years old. I don't know this business. I failed miserably. I have no right to win against Dabur, Imami, Patanjali, Zandu. So what do?
Right.
And my wife, who was my girlfriend at the time, she was in the founding team at Nykaa after she had come back from the UK. And she said, hey, you've seen the power of online in your investing journey, in your finance journey. I've seen it at Nykaa. Why don't you go online? That's when we pivoted the strategy, but I convinced her to join the business. So we got engaged, she joined the business. And then November 2017, we started our e-commerce journey. That time you had time, right? You had the benefit of time. So we spent 1 year learning online business. Facebook, Google, Shopify, WooCommerce, customer service, RTO, COD, deliveries, all of these things spent 1 year learning. And then at the end of the year, we got from 0 to 50 orders a day. Now, through that acquisition journey, what we realized was we thought being urban elite customers, that our customer was the urban elite, new age millennial customer. The reality was all our customers come from Muzaffarnagar, Imphal, Trichy, Anantnag, Andamans because they didn't have access to high quality Ayurvedic products and care, right? We offered a free consultation on our website. That's what my grandfather offered in this clinic as well. So we realized our customer is actually different from who we thought it was. And our first set of 1,000 users, 80% were outside the top 10 cities. So that's when we actually changed our strategy. We became a Bharat-focused, mass premium brand, advertising in Hindi and English more. And the big learning from that was unless you talk to your customers, you can't assume who your customers are or how they'll behave basis your behavior.
Right.
And as a consumer brand, it's very easy to ape your behavior into your business, right? Because look, if you're a B2B SaaS company or a tech company, you're a manufacturing company or a construction company, day-to-day you're not consuming a building or day-to-day you're not consuming software, right? Every single day you may not be consuming some B2B SaaS software. But in consumer products, you are actually the brand owner and the consumer in some sense, right? And so sometimes brand owners try to believe their behavior is the behavior of their customers. That's the first thing we learned by picking up the phone and answering. Talking to customers, realizing actually their wants and requirements are very different from ours. And so we have to cater to them in the way they want to be catered to, not the way we want to cater to them too, right?
When you came back from US and you worked in private equity, what did you learn about startup and business that further helped you while building Dr. Vaidya?
Look, I think I didn't learn much about running a business, but meeting 150 amazing businesses in 2.5 years, I learned what does a good business look like? What's a good founder? What does he or she do? The problem which I didn't have actually in private equity was I already saw established businesses, right? So I'll see a business after it's crossed 100 crores in revenue. On the good side, I saw what a good business looked like. On the bad side, I did not see enough of the struggle that led to that, right? And so I would just because at the end of the day, as a late stage or a growth stage fund, you're looking at stable business, stable P&L, stable Excel sheets. Now tell my dad, your gross margin dropped this quarter. He runs a jewelry and watch business. And he's like, you finance people think it's so easy. It's just like, okay, this Excel sheet created this, right? So on the good side, I saw what a stable business. On the bad side, I didn't see what it took to build a business from ground up. And so when I started, it was a rude awakening that nobody answered my emails. Nobody cared what I was doing. People didn't pick up my call. For me, it was a shock when I wrote to a bottle supplier and he didn't reply to my email. I was like, what do I do? I asked my dad, what do I do? He said, their factory is 1 hour away from here. Get in the car, go to their factory and sit outside their factory till they reply to you. And that's what was a rude awakening for me in the first 6 months. That nothing comes easy.
The struggle is going to be a big part of the journey. As you said that you worked with your girlfriend who later on became your better half. What are some things that people need to keep in mind when they're trying to work with their better half, right? Like that can be, emotions can come in between. How does that really work?
Look, I'll tell you 3 things about how it worked for us. And I'll caveat this by saying it can either work exceptionally well or go really, really badly, right? For us, it went exceptionally well. The reason Dr. Vaidya's is what it is because Trisha came on board. So I think that's really important, right? For us as people. What worked for us? 1, I was really good at the big picture. Sales, distribution, strategy, and the back-end production, manufacturing, supply chain. But everything in between, which makes a business tick, I wasn't good at, right? So operations, logistics, customer service, day-to-day performance marketing, day-to-day accounting, I wasn't good at those things. So while I was running the business before she came in, I was struggling at these things, right? So I found someone who had the same aligned interests as me with a complementary skill set, right? She was good at all these things. She's the operator behind Dr. Vaidya's. So accepting that you're not good at everything and bringing someone on board with complementary skill sets with the same alignment of interest. That's 1. Number 2, when the person comes on board or you're sharing responsibility, just allocate. Don't share. So don't both do performance marketing, don't both do accounts because you step on each other's toes, right? So clearly allocate what is whose responsibility. You can debate with each other, but finally the veto remains the person who's responsible for that department.
Right.
That's number 2. And number 3, as much as people say there's work-life balance when you're working with your partner, there is no work-life balance. It's work-life merger. Right? They come together. So at 12 p.m. on a Sunday, if something about work comes up, don't be like, no, there's no work. Reality is it happens. Right? You can try to compartmentalize as much as you can, but reality is that it's impossible to totally draw that line and accept that, right? So it's okay if at a family dinner something goes wrong and you have to step out. One of you have to step out. That's what worked for us. I think for us was one of the most beautiful experiences, right? We grew as people, our relationship grew. We got married while running this company. I couldn't have asked for anything more. It was frustrating though, right? I'll give you one instance. We were at a puja for our wedding, before our wedding. As I was sitting down for the puja, I got 4 calls from my factory. If I didn't pick up my factory manager's call, it was okay, right? He wouldn't call 4 times. I understood something was wrong. I got up, picked up his call and he said, hey, the electricity of our factory has gone. And I said, why? And he said, I don't know why, but we had a big order to process over the next couple of days. Now think about sitting through that puja knowing this has happened for both of us, right?
Right.
But that's something you have to deal with.
What do you think worked for Dr. Vaidya, and how did you differentiate yourself from the other competitors?
Look, I think our view on how we entered the market was very different, right? What were we trying to say? Like yoga was repackaged in the US, we said Ayurveda needs to appeal to you, right? And while there is so much that Ayurveda has to offer to you, the form, packaging, style, conversation was too boring or old school for you, and so you didn't relate to it. And so we created a new age Ayurvedic products brand that makes ancient Ayurveda appealing and accessible to modern consumers, right? That was the thought process behind what we built. No one had approached it that way. Now, when we launched Chyawanprash in a toffee form, or we launched an Ayurvedic hangover product, people thought we were crazy, right? But the good thing about it was, because I wasn't an Ayurvedic doctor and I didn't come with so much baggage from the industry, I could merge my family's legacy and my family's offering with the needs of a modern consumer and make a bridge.
Right.
That plus the online only approach. Today, Ayurveda online is like, okay, acceptable, right? But at that time when we were building, people thought like
2016,
Ayurveda online 2017, 2018, what is this, right? But when a customer came online to buy Ayurveda, we were the only platform. And so we got market leadership in that space. So I think combining these two things really helped us.
In the starting, you bootstrapped the business, right? So what was your mindset like, and what should one think about when they are trying to bootstrap their company? Because of the funding freeze, as people say, it's really hard to get funding right now. So what should someone think about unit economics or growth or marketing? How should they think about it?
Look, bootstrapping fundamentally makes you think in a very frugal manner, right? And that thought process is very important even when you have money. Because that mentality of hustle, struggle, and stretch it all to the maximum, that's really important. Even if you have $10 million, $20 million, $100 million in the bank, you still got to value that money and stretch it to the maximum. So I think that mentality of like doing everything in the most efficient manner was a big learning from bootstrapping. The other thing with bootstrapping is like, basically you have no other option, right? You can't say, okay, let me do this TV campaign or let me tie up with the biggest influencers. I don't have that, right? So finding solutions when you don't have access to unlimited capital is amazing, because when you get it, when you get the capital, you know exactly what to do with it. And the third thing I would say with bootstrapping is lots of discipline to not make stupid mistakes or do random experiments, right? So these are the things I learned from bootstrapping, which actually is a great skill to have even when you raise money.
Right. And what is the right time to raise money for any startup or company?
For me, it's when you establish product market fit. Because think about a baby, right? A baby is learning to crawl, and then you put the baby on a treadmill and say run at 10 kilometers an hour. Think about the same thing with a company. You can raise money at any point, but if you don't know what you're doing or what you will do with the money, what's the point of having the money in the bank, right? As opposed to you try, you establish product market fit, you get 100 customers, 1,000 customers, then you say, okay, now I'll do this with them.
How did you scale it? Like once you understood that this is the PMF that you've reached to after getting feedback from your customers, after reiterating over the product, how did you scale this to 1.5 million customers and revenue?
So I think the great part about online business, about D2C businesses, once the PMF is established, you can achieve hyperscale. So it took Dr. Vaidya's 2.5 years to reach 50 orders online per day, right? And then it took 2 years more to reach 5,000 orders a day. Why was this? Because at 50 orders a day, we achieved this with a customer acquisition cost of 30% of average order value. We understood who our customer is. We understood how to advertise to this customer. And then once this P&L started making sense, we were like, okay, now let's take this 2x. 3x, 5x. So once we spent the time to understand the customer, establish the PMF, make unit economics look okay, then the power of online is actually you can go from gear 1 to gear 3 very fast.
Right.
And from gear 3 to gear 4 very fast. Because I'm just replicating what I'm doing in the same way. So it's like Formula 1, right? You've finished the turns and then you reach the last straight. On that straight, you can put your pedal to the maximum full throttle and go, right? So once I finish that last turn and I know where I'm going, then I can just go full throttle.
Right. When you were taking feedback from customers, what did you observe about the Indian consumer? Like, what are their behaviors like when they're trying to go online, trying to buy something?
I think the first thing is you can't fool customers, right? We can say that we can hide behind our science and our technicalities and our complications. Because of access to unlimited information, which digital has allowed us, customers are much smarter than we think they are. That's number one.
Right.
Number two, you have to deliver a good experience. Right? You can't deliver a substandard experience because the customer will push back. And the customer expects high quality experience, high quality product, proper delivery, proper customer service, proper unboxing experience. That's what it is. That's the reality. So substandard doesn't work. And number three, actually, what I assumed and what was reality was our consultations, our free consultation lasted an average of 5 to 7 minutes. So the customer doesn't want to dilly-dally tell you about their life and have the conversation. They are like, hey, I have this problem. It's diabetes. These are my readings. This is what I'm struggling from. Can you please give me a product and a diet plan that helps and explain to me why? Not, this is me, this is my family background, this is my history, this is my personality, this is what I'm doing. And that was surprising, right? Because we used to block 30-minute slots on our doctor's calendar for consultation, and every time we'd get over in 5-7 minutes. And at least from the pilots we did, in the US it was the opposite. 30 minutes was not enough, right? So the customer mentality is different.
How do you hire people? When you first got started, how did you hire the right set of people? And what do you look for in a person? Is it the skill? Is it the willingness to work? What is that thing that
I think it's culture, right? So we had 7 philosophies at Dr. Vaidya's. Honesty is our practice. Humbleness is our equity. Hard work is our strength. 100% and nothing less. Happy to work and happier to achieve. Team effort is our power and customer is our reason for being.
Oh.
We were a team that worked really hard. We weren't that team that Instagrammed in our office 20 times a day. We were the team that loved working to achieve. Scale and success was what we thrived on. We were one of those no bullshit teams. Not saying that everybody fits into such an environment and not saying that we were the most chilled out, happy, fun place to work. We were a team that were driven to make this happen. We want to take Ayurveda to as many people as we could. And so people who believed in that culture, that mentality and that thought process were people who would thrive in our organization. Skills could be taught, right? I believe that skills can be taught, but culture can't. And so all of the times we solved for skills and not culture, those people didn't last because they didn't like it or we didn't like it. But the cultural fits could get trained. And could become a part of this amazing machine and organization.
Right. The people who stayed with you, the employees, and they grew with you as the company grew, what were the traits that they had that helped them stick around and like grow with you?
I think embodied these philosophies, but more than that, really believed they were part of something larger than just a company. When COVID hit, now it's been a long time, right? But think about wave one. April 2020. If I told you get out of your house, drive to a warehouse and pack medicines every single day, would you do it? Well, it's very tough, right? My team was there because they said we have a responsibility to India to provide Ayurvedic medicines in this time of need. People want their immunity boosters. How can we shut? We were open 10 days after the first lockdown. And we were open all through. Sundays, packing orders because demand surged. So I think this was really important, the kind of people that really thrived and grew in our organization.
I want to learn about this because I have my own company that I started 1 year ago, and I had this one person that I hired, and I literally just woke up 4 o'clock in the morning one day and I checked the WhatsApp group and he's still talking to one of the clients that we have, and I just called him. I was like, "So, ja bro, kyun itne time kaam kar?" And he's like, "Nahi bro, kaam khatam karke sounga." And I was like so happy about that, like to have someone who feels like a part of something big.
Yeah.
And that's such a really
That's the way to achieve success.
Yeah.
Right?
Definitely. Also, I wanted to understand what did your day in the life look like when you were trying to build Dr. Vaidya?
Day in the life looks like open your eyes, check your WhatsApp, 10 things have broken, start minding those 10 things, barely get out of the shower, get to the office, work all through the day, stay in the office till it's over, whatever that time is, and come
No
home.
work-life balance.
Forget work-life balance. I think as an entrepreneur, as much as you try to put structure into your day, if something breaks, you got to deal with it, right? And that's one thing which I now enjoy, having like sold my company and now working as an investor, a little more structure in life. Do I miss the craziness? Yeah, sometimes I miss the craziness, the panic, right? The excitement, the new thing every day. But that's the fundamental difference.
What does the selling mindset look like? Like selling your own company, what should be the mindset and how should we go about that thought? And when should be the right time to think about that?
Unfortunately, I don't have an answer to this question because there should be no selling mindset. You should build a fundamentally good business. Various things will happen along the way. Too many people come to me and say, I also want to sell my business like you. If I approach my business saying I want to sell it, I've never sold it, right? So just build a good business without thinking about all these things. When the opportunity comes, assess the opportunity at that point of time given you, not what everybody else around you is doing. What is right for you at that time, that's the right time. That's all. But don't build a company to sell. It's a very bad idea.
Makes sense. You know, like even Elon Musk says, it's like your own baby that you're trying to grow.
Exactly.
And then to sell the baby, that's a whole different ball game altogether.
I would say don't even think about it.
Right.
If it comes, assess it at that time and see what happens.
Awesome. What books have you really enjoyed reading about startups and that would help people learn more about?
Look, my favorite one, because I'm a brand guy and a marketing guy, is The Purple Cow by Seth Godin. Amazing brand book. Obviously cliche from 0 to 1. I like the hard thing about hard things. Because, it's there as well. Because you don't love everything you do as a founder. Right? So I like that one. And then How I Almost Blew It by Siddharth Rao, about the early Indian internet entrepreneurs. It was a time that I wasn't really a part of, right? Sort of early 2000s, mid 2000s. I was too young to see what was happening in the world of internet. So I think these books I like. I'm a big podcast guy. I like Masters of Scale, Business Wars.
Business Wars is wonderful.
Yeah, it's a great podcast. And then I'm a huge documentary guy. And specifically sports documentaries. I've watched every single one available on OTT because I feel like as early stage startup entrepreneurs, our journey is very similar to those of sportsmen in terms of discipline, in terms of hustle, in terms of struggle, in terms of failure. Lots to learn from there.
Were there any challenges that you faced? As you said that you tried to reach out to the bottle, the guy, he did not answer your call.
Challenges every day, failure every day. The hallmark of a good entrepreneur is to fight failure with grit and resilience and come out of it. That's something that I'm not great at yet, but I'm getting better. But every day, from people not believing in you, team members not believing in you, customers not believing in you, people around you not believing in you. Yeah, lots of challenges. But without challenges, like, I mean, what's built, right? So lots of people come to me and say, I want to build a unicorn, I want to get funding, I want to do all of these things. Nobody's telling the story behind what happened behind that unicorn, right? How much struggle there was. And like, I think that's really important to sort of keep in mind as a mental model. While there's so much euphoria to the Indian startup ecosystem, there's so much work that goes into it, mental and physical.
Right. What happened after you sold the company? Like, Kunal Shah talks about selling free charge and feeling lost, trying out a different bunch of things and starting Cred. What was your mindset and what are the future plans that you have right now?
Look, the first thing I did was sleep. I mean, I forgot what sleep was.
Right.
I was actually one of those people who wasn't worried what I'd do next because I knew I'd find something to do. We enjoyed our journey as founders and we said there's lots for us to give back to. So we started giving time pro bono to founders, mentoring, advising, eventually investing. Now Trisha and I have invested more than 80 companies as angels. We started a podcast on D2C, which I really enjoyed. It added value to founders, starting up, telling the story of the biggest D2C founders in India and the story of D2C. I then wrote a playbook on building a D2C brand because lots of the same questions came to me. Started teaching that as a cohort-based course. Now we teach India's largest cohort-based course through one of our portfolio companies called Growth School.
Right.
That's been fun. And through that time period, I met the folks at Whirlinvest. Whirlinvest is obviously a large consumer sector focused investor. They do more growth equity and they wanted to start a venture fund run by an ex-founder in various geographies, India, US and Europe. And so they talked to me about the idea and I just thought it was such a cool thought process, right? To run a VC fund that's built by ex-founders, that's global. I thought it was the best way to give back. And so yeah, got to know them. And then eventually late last year, I started leading the venture strategy at Whirlinvest and now running a VC fund. So I think for me, I wasn't worried that I would find something to do, but I was pleasantly surprised at how quickly I found something to do. But yeah, I was not one of those founders who said, if I don't go to the office for 16 hours a day, what will I do?
Right.
Figure it out.
Wonderful, Arjun. Thank you so much for joining me here for this video and sharing your insights about building Dr. Vaidya and how to start a startup. I would really advise the audience to take note. We talked about a bunch of different things. They should take note and start working on that. What would be your one last message to my audience who's still watching till the end, like at this point of this video?
Look, I think there is no better time. There has never been a time as exciting as this to build in India, right? So stay hungry, stay foolish and keep building. That's my message. Thank you guys. Thank you for having me. It's been
awesome.
an
Thank you so much,
absolute pleasure.